Hello, I'm Mr. Turner, and I'm going to talk through you the Year 8 options process for the academic year 2022-2023. So what I'd like to do with regards to this presentation is do the following. I'd like to ensure that we're able to review the timeline of the options process. Think about how you can support your child in the options process as well. Understand what the curriculum has to offer, what it looks like in Year 9. One of the key things that parents ask is about the difference between the GCSE and the vocational pathway that we have. So understanding the difference between those qualifications in terms of their grades and the assessment styles and what that might mean for post-16 and college. And actually have an understanding as to what your child's options forms may look like. We're going to look at last year's forms, but there's going to be changes because every year it's quite unique to a year group's population and what they want to do. So just a review of the timeline then. So yesterday, students had their first assembly on options. For obviously today, as you're watching this is because you've been unable to attend the face-to-face presentation to parents. Then after this week, so Monday the 23rd of January onwards, there's going to be opportunities in lessons, in RSHE, in form time, etc., to be able to talk about careers and think about specific option subjects. But then I'm going to be running a second options assembly where subject leaders, so heads of department, that opt to talk to students in the whole assembly context will be able to do that. Monday the 30th of January, there'll be items on the school website. I'll be sending out a copy of the options booklet, which has all of the content information, and also there'll be some talk through videos from heads of department to parents. Then from Monday the 6th, or at least in between the 30th of January and Monday the 6th, children will have the opportunity to do a first draft, a first trawl of their options, and that will then lead to me creating a tailored options form, which will be sent out from Monday the 6th of February, and I'm asking parents and students to return those forms by Friday the 17th. That's so I can start looking at the options blocks themselves, and then on Thursday the 2nd of March, that will also give an opportunity for parents to come in, meet with the subject teachers as you would normally do on a parents' evening, but then also see senior staff, so see myself, other senior leaders, just to approve the final options choices, hence why we need the form. And then between March, April and May, I'll be looking at the options forms. I'll be speaking to any students who need to re-opt for those forms, and then we will be making sure we get those out to parents as soon as we can. So what should my child consider when they are choosing their options? So in the presentation that your child's had, we're really focusing on kind of like the do's and don'ts. So a few questions that were asked of them. What subjects do they enjoy? So thinking about the subjects that they're actually going to enjoy, because they're going to be doing these subjects for 5 hours a fortnight. What subjects are they good at? Are there any subjects that they've got a real passion for and also are potentially got the opportunity of being really successful in? What subjects do they need for any future careers? Now, generally, GCSEs won't limit children in terms of their future pathways. There's only a couple of subjects where they might need to do that at GCSE to move on to the next stage, but generally, they should be sort of focusing on a couple of subjects that might benefit them for the future career, but it isn't necessarily that important. And what subjects are they interested in and want to study further? So it may not link to their career. It may be something that they're just interested in studying further. But the key thing is all students must study math, science, and English, and then they will be able to opt another 4 subjects. Some students will have a limited pathway, some students will have a more open pathway, and again, we'll talk about that. So what I went through with the students is the do's in terms of choosing their options. As I said, choosing something they enjoy, choosing something they're good at. Students should talk to people about their decisions. So this could be siblings. So if you've got children that have already gone through their GCSEs, obviously parents, they'll have opportunities to talk to their teachers. But really, it needs to be down to their decision. They need to also think about researching their goals and ambitions, so what they want to study, if they want to go to university, what they want to do at A level, because as I said, that does have some impact on what they might want to do. And also about keeping their options open, having a good balance, not just necessarily studying all GCSEs. There could be vocational qualifications, which will really benefit them moving forward. And also when we talk about the difference between the vocational qualifications, it could be that combination benefits them when it comes to the exam period in year 11. The don'ts then, and this is what I emphasize with children every year, is making sure that they don't choose something just because their friends are, just because they're going to be or think they're going to be in their friends group. And that's because actually we have some subjects where we have multiple option groups. So it could be that even though they're selected in a subject, they might not even be with their friends as well. And similarly, choosing something because they like the teacher. As we know, unfortunately, teachers do leave school, and also because of timetable constraints, it might mean that a teacher isn't actually able to teach a year 9 group next year. So they need to be choosing a subject because they enjoy the subject rather than the teacher itself. I said, and I think possibly this is sometimes one thing we really need to reflect as parents and carers is making sure that we speak to our children in a unique way and treat them as individuals. And just because older brothers or sisters may have gone down a certain pathway doesn't necessarily mean that that is appropriate for your child. So it's making sure that they're choosing the options that are going to most benefit them for the future, as opposed to something that they think they should do because of conversations they've had with others. And finally, don't choose a subject because they think it's easy. At Key Stage 3, there are certain topics that we choose deliberately to engage students and get them involved in their learning. But as we move through year 9, 10, 11, we've obviously got a set specification that needs to be delivered for a GCSE subject, and therefore potentially what they enjoyed before may not necessarily be, or so what they found easy before may not necessarily be easy now. There's different assessment schemes, and whilst we try and mirror how we assess and how students are going to be graded in year 9, 10, 11 back down to year 7 and 8, it does change. So they need to think about, even if they find it easy now, they might not find it easy moving forward. So succeeding at Key Stage 4, really, there's a few steps to success for students at Key Stage 4. So working hard and displaying our AMA character and culture attributes. So what we need to be making sure students do is using those soft skills they've developed, the ability to be resilient, the ability to be independent as they move through from year 8 to year 9, and they need to continue to develop those skills and attributes. Home learning, homework will increase, so we need to be making sure that students are thinking about what subjects they find easier to complete and easier to work on at home compared to others. Do they have space to be able to work? So for example, art, they may need to spend quite a lot of time, or DT projects spend quite a lot of time creating design products, or it could be that they need to spend quite a lot of time on computer. Is that something that they're able to do at home? They need to think about exams. Some subjects will have 100% exams, so they need to think about whether they've got the capacity, whether your child's got the capacity to be successful in a subject that's all exams. Do they know how to revise? Have they got to develop and apply those exam skills to exams as well? Conversely, there's some subjects that have controlled assessment and coursework. Does your child know which subjects have got coursework? Are they good at coursework? Do they think they're going to enjoy that? They've got to meet deadlines, be organised and work independently. So thinking about those skills and attributes depending on the exam course is really, really important. So what does the year 9 curriculum look like? So if I just go through the GCSEs and then the vocational qualifications. So as I said already, all subjects, maths, English language, sorry, and literature and science, all students have to do those subjects. So that's 5 GCSEs. Okay. They then have to study core GCSE. So we've got RSHE and PE, and there's also RE within the RSHE framework. Okay, they don't get a qualification for that, but that's a non-negotiable. They have to study those subjects. Then our curriculum choices mean that students can study French, Spanish, food, graphics, RE, art, Mandarin, history, geography, textiles, RM, and triple science. Now, I've put question marks next to drama, business, and PE, and that's simply because based on the cohort of students that we get in year 9 will potentially determine the type of qualification students do. So it may be that they do a straight GCSE, or as you can see on the vocational list, business, drama, and PE also appear there. So it could be as well that they do vocational business, drama, and PE. And the vocational list, we do iMedia, we do child development, and we do music, as well as functional skills for certain students. So talking of certain students, let's have a look at our options pathways then. So you can see that we have 3 different pathways. So the EBAC pathway is our most academically challenging route, and basically all students must do in option 1 and option 2, and we'll go through an example form in a moment. They must study humanity or a language. So humanity, we're talking about geography or history, and then language, obviously we're talking about Spanish, French, or Mandarin. Just one note to say with regards to the language, they have to be studying that language in year 8 at the moment. So we've got some students doing Spanish, some students doing French, some students doing Mandarin. That has to be the language they continue with now. And then they can choose 2 other subjects, either GCSE or vocational. Then we have the mixed pathway. Now, this is for the majority of students, and it's got the most variety that students can have. So they choose a minimum of 1 GCSE, either a humanity or a language. That's in option 1. And then they've got a bit more freedom to choose other subjects across options 2, 3, and 4. And then our vocational pathway, this is where students study the functional skills, the numeracy and literacy, to making sure that they're developing those skills more. And then they do that rather than a humanity or a language. And then they have 3 other subjects. So what is the EBAC pathway then? So the EBAC pathway is something that the government is trying to promote to ensure that we really have as many students studying humanities and languages as possible. Students will be directed towards the EBAC route, and that's based on their primary teacher assessments, and also as well any baseline assessments we did in year 7. Students can still choose the EBAC route even if they're not directed towards it. And the guideline is that some good universities will expect this. However, we found in recent years that it's not as essential for university as potentially it is. But what I would say as well, though, is languages and humanities are just fantastic skills to be able to have in a student's repertoire of knowledge. So if a student is able to study these subjects, I would recommend it. So just to talk about GCSE versus vocational qualifications, really. So as I said, GCSE, majority subjects are now linear, which means it's 100% coursework. 100% exams with very little coursework. There's a few subjects such as art and the design technology subjects, which have coursework, which is about 50% coursework and then 50% exam. But the majority of subjects, for example, triple science, history, geography, French, they are all 100% exams, whether written exams or spoken exams in the case of the languages. Whereas our vocational qualifications, mainly coursework and controlled assessments. So generally what happens is we're looking at 3 units being studied over the course of 2 years, 1 of which will be an exam unit and 2 of which will be a coursework unit. Now, these coursework units are not easy and they cover a lot of content. But if a child is potentially better at doing coursework, then the vocational qualifications may be beneficial. The grading system is different in terms of what the children get. So for a vocational qualification, it's distinction star, distinction merit and pass. But we can see that distinction star is the equivalent of a grade 8 or 9. Distinction is the equivalent of grade 7. Merit is the equivalent of a grade 5 or 6, and pass is the equivalent of grade 4. So that's all at level 2. So you can see that actually a child doing the vocational qualification can easily achieve a grade 7, 8 or 9 equivalent, which is something that really should be considered, and it does really benefit the children. The key thing for me is when we think about the mix of subjects a child has, is there's actually 11 exams minimum at the end of GCSE, just for GCSE math, science and English. So they need to think carefully about the subjects they choose. So if they think that they're going to struggle with a large number of exams, it could be that they study a couple of vocational qualifications, because actually they can be examined in the January of year 11, meaning that there's more opportunity to focus on the exams in the summer, as opposed to having to spread yourself quite thin with regards to your revision for the summer exams. But what about after Key Stage 4? Because I know a lot of parents are worried that, oh, if my child does a BTEC, that's going to affect them. Absolutely not. So our GCSEs and our BTEC or OCR Nationals, which are vocational subjects, will lead on to vocational courses. Generally, what colleges are looking for is they're looking for a minimum number of grades. So, for example, to study A levels, English, maths at grade 5, and then they're looking for good quality grades. So a lot of sixth forms will take students on at A level, potentially even if they haven't studied that course. There's a few examples, subjects like art, for example, product design, where you've got a lot of skills that you've had to have learned. Obviously, the languages. If you haven't studied those at GCSE, you're going to struggle to study those at A level. But qualifications such as business, law, psychology, sociology, where actually there's not really an opportunity to study them at GCSE, colleges are looking for the caliber of the grades as well as anything else. So studying a vocational qualification in a subject area will not necessarily inhibit a child going on and doing A levels. So we just need to bear that in mind. There's colleges and us in our sixth form, we're looking for good quality grades, first and foremost, and then students, if it's a specific subject, to study those very specific GCSEs. So the options form. So what is their options form going to look like? So children are going to have to choose one option from option 1, option 2, option 3, and option 4. And what I ask children to choose a reserve option as well for option 2, 3, and 4. Reason being that based on the option blocks and staffing, it may be that they're not able to get their absolute first choice. So having a reserve means I can build the timetable and build the option blocks based on the reserves as well. So it really is important that they consider the reserves and take those very seriously. As I said, students will receive the form on the 6th of February, and they do need to return them by the 17th of February. So I'm going to show you an example of last year's forms. Now, this is just to illustrate what the forms may look like for you, but it is based on last year. So a couple of subjects I've crossed out because we're not going to be offering those subjects in those option blocks, and I'll quickly mention that. But also as well, the form, as I said, will be designed specifically based on your child's year group as well. So this is what it looked like for the EVAC pathway. So we can see that we've got the French, Spanish, Geography, History in option 1, French, Geography and History in option 2. So we can see that really there's this structure that means that a child will have to study an option in languages and will have to study an option in humanities as well. Now, I should add as well that GCSE Mandarin will be an option as well. So that's option 1 and 2. And then in this example, option 3, we've got child development, iMedia, PE and sport in both blocks. And then children can either choose GCSE art or business, GCSE triple science. So what they do there is they're converting their double science into a triple science for biology, chemistry, physics, and BTEC music. Now, there's a couple of subjects that we're missing out on here, and that's the option for drama and also DTRM, which will fit into one of these two blocks. So that's what the option blocks look like. So a child might choose French, they might choose geography, they might choose art and triple science, and then they'll have history, RE, and iMedia as reserves, and then they fill their option block in like that. For the mixed pathway, we can see there is more choice now. So they only need to choose as subjects such as French, Spanish, geography, or history in option 1, and then they've got the options of food, graphics and textiles. It's likely there'll be another option block in here, and again that will be based on the options form sort of first trawl that the children fill in. And then again, similar option 3 and option 4, a mixture of vocational and GCSE qualifications. So they might choose Spanish, they might choose food, business and sport as their first choices, and then textiles, iMedia and music as their reserves. And then child on the vocational pathway. So this is directed specifically towards certain students that will need additional maths and English. So you can see that option 1 is now limited to literacy and numeracy, the functional skills. Then in option 2, they can do one of the DT subjects. We're not going to stop children from studying French, geography or history, but because of the literacy demands and the academic level of those subjects, it may be that the DT subjects, because they're practical, are going to be more beneficial for your child on this pathway. And again, there will be potentially another option in here. And then in option 3, again, same choices, your child development, iMedia, RE and sport, and then art and business, or child development, IT, RE, sport, and then triple science or music. But probably children on this pathway really should consider not choosing triple science because of, again, the academic demands of the course. So it could be that a child chooses functional skills, they want to do food, child development and BTEC music, and textiles, RE and sport is their reserve. And we can see them filling the form in there. So that's what the options forms will look like. Now, as I said, they will be different based on what your child fills in for the first options trawl. And what will happen in form time is they're going to get a Microsoft form, and it looks like this. So they'll have the need to fill their form group in, and then they need to have a choice of which language or humanity they might want to study in option 1. Then in option 2, I want them to give me a first choice and a second choice. So you'll see that there is RE, there's art, there's drama in this option sort of form, because again, I want to be able to see if there's a taste, and iMedia, I want to see if there's a taste for students studying one of these subjects in option 2, which wasn't available last year. And then also a second choice as well to look at that second level of popularity. And then also they have a 5th question where they need to select their next favourite subjects or their favourite subjects in option 3 and 4. And I'm going to ask them to choose 3 subjects. So again, these are all the possible subjects that could appear in option 3 and 4. And for me to be able to build the blocks, I want to be able to see what combination of subjects are popular. So really it's important that when your child fills this form in, that they take it really seriously. So that's the end of my options presentation. I do hope you've found it useful and interesting. Obviously, because you've not been able to come to the live face-to-face session tonight, if you do want to ask any questions, best thing to do is email me. You can also phone the school office, but please do email me on intern@astonmanoracademy.com and I'll be able to follow up your questions. Also, you can email Mr. Black, the head of Year 8, as he's going to be heavily involved in the options process as well, and his email address is on the presentation. So I do hope you found the presentation helpful today, and as I said, please do not hesitate to contact me if you've got any questions. Thank you very much.